Welcome once again to Boomer Bongo Boulevard, Season 2, Ron Just Ron, Episode 2. I'm Mike Just Mike, my brother Ron Just Ron, whom I just addressed, and we're talking about records tonight. We've talked about music a lot. We have a song of the week. This week we won't have a song of the week, Ron, because we're going to mention a lot of songs, but
Yep.
we're going to talk about our favorite albums, and we restricted ourselves, no greatest hits albums, and no soundtracks with mixed different groups and bands on it. I guess
Only original sound.
yeah, only an original soundtrack would work because I've got a couple of those that would work. But anyway, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. You want to lead us off with one of your favorite albums from your youth, I guess.
Okay. Well, it's pretty much all time, really. um, I'm gonna do it. In my number 5 spot would be Rubber Soul.
The Beatles.
Yeah. Looks like I got a little reflection going with
Yeah,
my
I didn't know
camera.
if that was me. I'm double.
Hold it this way a little.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
That's a little better.
That's
Yeah.
the way to do it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Rubber Soul.
John, Paul, George, Ringo.
Yeah. I love it. Drive my car, Norwegian Wood. You won't see me. Nowhere, man. Think for yourself. The Word, Michelle. What goes on? Girl. I'm looking through you and my life. Wait. If I needed someone, run for your life. Man, you can't beat that.
If you want to get depressed, listen to Nowhere Man and In My Life. Those will just send you right over the edge.
Oh, I know.
But they're
bring a tear to your eye, man.
Yeah, it's good over the edge. But
and I have a good memory of this one too because this is the first Beatles album that my son Eddie really fell in love with. We were when we were living in Mississippi. We were driving to Texas one time, and I had just gotten this CD, and I used to have the album too, but I ended up giving it to someone. And anyway, I played that all the way out there, and he just kept wanting me to play it over and over and over and over. And he just fell in love with Rubber Soul.
What can you say?
Good memory for me,
He's a melancholy kind of kid, though, isn't he? Norwegian Wood is a melancholy.
Who doesn't like the Beatles when you hear it,
Yeah. I mean, guy, burns up a girl's house, and isn't it good? Norwegian Wood, sure.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got one.
Then you got what I call the OJ song, where John wrote that one, "Run for Your Life." Because he was like, he'd rather kill her than her be with another man. So
that's
who else could it be talking about?
That's not good. Hey, the soundtrack to my life, soundtrack to college.
Oh, yeah.
Frampton Comes Alive. Peter Frampton, double live album. One of the great double live albums of all time. One of the great live albums of all time.
Oh yeah.
And it makes every list when somebody out there decides to rank live albums.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds
how
great.
many artists have a live album as their greatest album?
Well, what was kind of great is kind of weird too. Is Peter Frampton really wasn't going anywhere when he recorded this album?
No, he wasn't.
He'd released, I think, maybe 3 other albums, studio albums prior to that, and he had a following, but it wasn't a big following. But apparently, everybody who was a follower of Peter Frampton showed up at this concert because they were singing along and cheering every song, and it just caught on. And when I was in college, I had a guy who lived across the hall named Andy, who ended up becoming a doctor. But he was a boxer, and he was built solidly. He was kind of a squatty dude, and only thing I ever saw him wear in the dorm was flip-flops, period. That was it. And he would put on Frampton Comes Alive most of the time and sing along, and he'd invite us all over, and he was a jolly fellow. And I think we committed some felonies accidentally while he was lived on our hall. He had some guy who was on the run from the police living with him, and none of us snitched because we're not snitchers. That's just not what we do. And but we did it all to the music, the not snitching. The Andy was the only guy walking around in his flip flops. We were all properly dressed, but he just didn't believe in being properly dressed. And then he became a doctor for years. Died a few years ago. I saw the obituary in the paper, and but old Andy just he loved Peter Frampton. And and he loved walking around singing to Peter Frampton, and that's what I think of when I think about it. And that's what your albums are. By the way, I have the album, as you'll notice. You just your favorite albums, like you talked about driving across Texas, they just bring to mind scenes. This is what goes along with it. Anyway, Peter Frampton. By the way, factually,
once
19. I was going to say around 1976. 1976 the year, and 8 million records sold in the United States, just in the year that it was released. So that'll make for a hit, I think.
I heard a comedian say once that was talking about that album. He said, if you lived in the suburbs, in the 1970s, he said, I believe that album was issued to every teenager.
Yeah, you just were walking down the street and somebody go, "Hey, have you got your Frampton album yet? Here it is." Yeah, it could have been. I think that's what. Who's that little young lady who's so popular now? Taylor Swift. I think that's what she did with her first album. Her dad bought all of them and she gave them to people. But, yeah, that's the truth. She doesn't want anybody to know, but that's the truth. All right, next song. What do you got? What album?
All right. Sitting at number 4 for me is this is an album by a favorite band of mine, The Cars, and also a great cover. As you can see.
Isn't it? You got the album, actual album too.
With one of the, I think that's like they call it one of the Vargas girls. It's an artist named Vargas that did a bunch of things like that. But anyway, it's The Cars, and it's a little beat up, but here they are on the back. Most of them are dead now.
Shake it up.
But, took them a while to make the Hall of Fame, but Rick Ocasek, who wrote all the music, and the Benjamin Orr, who sang some of them.
Right.
More romantic ones and stuff.
Some
they
of the
were great
ones,
bands. But anyway, that was my introduction to the Cars, was buying this album. A friend of mine had it, and I really liked it, so I bought it. And then I went back and I bought their first album, and then I bought every one that they released subsequently, and the box set later on that had some extra stuff on it.
I just realized.
But the album was called Candy O. I don't think I mentioned that.
No, you didn't.
And, and had some of their biggest hits on it, like Let's Go. Let's see. Yeah, Let's Go. It's All I Can Do. A lot of great stuff. Double Life. They always did this on every one of their albums. They always had one side where all the songs were all interconnected. They always did that at least on one side. I always really liked that about them. And because it just made it where when you heard one song, you always thought about the next song.
Right.
I guess a little marketing, huh?
I guess so.
But yeah, they were one of the early. Well, they came out in the late 70s. This was like 1980. This one came out, so it was like kind of that new wave, style.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
the ugly hair.
They were big. They were huge all through the 80s.
Up until then, you had to have cool hair, and then their cars came by. You don't have to have cool hair. You can have really crummy looking hair and still be right.
I remember that they never really appeared on TV except on one show. They were on this show like 2 or 3 times. You remember that show Fridays that tried to compete with Saturday Night Live? Yeah, they were on that show like 3 times. That's the only place I ever saw them was on there.
Probably some connection.
Yeah, probably.
I just realized something technical about this is CDs are really what we should have used, because the CDs show up and you can still see us when you use the album cover.
Yeah.
You look like Kilroy was here, Yeah. Here's mine. I didn't put mine in order. I just put some I like, but this is the snob one. Okay, you got to have a snob one in there.
Right.
And that's an album that nobody's heard of except you, and you're probably the only one who bought it. But this is, and everybody's heard of this one, Jennifer Warnes, who sang.
I know she is.
Bill Medley, The Time of My Life.
Yeah, most of her big hits were singing with other people.
Yeah, and this is her though, Jennifer Warnes, great vocalist. And in this album, it's called "Famous Blue Raincoat," the songs of Leonard Cohen, and just some of the great Leonard Cohen songs. And she does a great job on it. And if you've never heard anybody singing this song, but First We Take Manhattan is the coolest song, and everything on here sounds great. Bird on the Wire, just everything on here is great, and I can't say enough about it. I doubt you can even buy this anymore, but I'm sure you can go to YouTube or some of the other music services. Well, YouTube's not a
You'd be
music service.
surprised at things you can buy, you know.
Oh, well, that's true. But famous, once again, Jennifer Warren's famous Blue Raincoat. The song came out, I noted when these albums were released. And this was released in 1986. So getting, into where I'm fully grown and doing things like going to law school and that and getting married and those kinds of things. But I don't know. I guess maybe that's once again there's a lot of things going on, and it was very calming to put this album on and listen to it in those days because I'll tell you what, when you're 30, 28, you're busy. You don't have much time.
True.
You don't have much time for anything if you're actually doing anything at all. You just don't have much time. You're establishing yourself, and it's nice to be able to unwind, and that was a great way to do it. Next, what do you got?
Okay. Next, I have my favorite album from my personal favorite band, the Monkees.
Yeah.
And that is Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Jones Limited.
I almost picked that one.
Yeah, I've got it on CD. I've got it on. I used to have a reprint done by Rhino Records in 1986, but I lost that one somehow. But I got it again. I got an original copy on Cauldrum's label, original copy that's excellent condition. So I have it on vinyl again. And because I wanted I have all the Monkees on vinyl except for I think 2.
Yeah. Well,
this
what I was
definitely my favorite.
Which one?
It's the best one, I think.
I had that, got it for Christmas, played the grooves off of it.
Yeah.
And I think everybody's got an album, or anybody that really collects music at all has got an album that they've had 6 copies of and they've lost them because they have them in so many places. Or you bought 2 copies so you'd have one place and one another place. My album like that is Al Green's Greatest Hits, and I swear half of them are stolen. But people hear Al Green and they go, I got to have that. And that's how Al Green is. But this is not a Greatest Hits night. Hey, guess what? It's next on my list, Ron.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm not quite through.
Well, wait.
I'm not quite through.
But I just want to match up.
One of my favorite songs is on this one. Door into Summer. That's not one of their hits, but that's one of my favorite all-time songs. Is the Door into Summer. That is a Mike song. I like the Mike songs.
Oh, sure.
He was always my favorite.
That is a Mike song. Yeah, that's right. Because he sang and he always did the vocals. Not always, but most of the time he did the vocals on his songs. He wrote Mary, Mary.
That he had. If he didn't do them, Mickey did.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say
he
the
likes
biggest
Mickey
one
to do his songs. If he was, nobody
Mickey
else ever sang them but him or Mickey, though. Sorry. Go ahead.
Mickey did Mary, Mary was what I was saying, and and that's probably the most memorable, I guess, song written by Mike Nesmith. But my Monkees album is more of the Monkees, and I did not coordinate with you. Y'all have to take our words for it. Steve and Don and Hubert, but our 3 listeners, and plus the commentator person who comes in every once in a while and comments. But just a great album. Of course, it was much more controlled. It was in the early days when the second album of the Monkees, and they were still being controlled, but still some good music and great vocals. And look, I'm doing that again. It's right there. And
their biggest hit ever is on that one.
I'm a Believer.
I'm a Believer. Yeah.
Yeah. So even if it didn't sell more records, it's the most memorable because of it's been redone so many times, and because of the Shrek movie, and mainly because of the Shrek movie. Little bitty kids get excited when they hear.
They're wearing their J.C. Penney clothes on the front.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's from the J.C. Penney Monkees collection shoot.
Hey, you know what? Something we left off. Fashion trend. Big giant belt buckles. Look at Mike's belt buckle. Woo! Need a cough button.
Yeah.
See the giant belt buckle Mike's got there?
Oh, yeah.
There it is, pal.
And Peter always wore his belt buckle off to the side.
Yep.
Do you know why he did that?
No.
Because he didn't like scratching his guitar up.
I never thought about it. I think some mechanics do that too.
Yeah.
Because
I didn't know that until I read that a few years back. Somebody asked why he did that, and he was like, "Oh, I didn't like to gash up my guitar with my big belt buckle."
Yeah, and they're expensive guitars too. But hey, the most famous guitars have all kinds of gashes and knocked into things and all that. So, see,
and autographs on too, like Willie.
can you see the text that are popping up on my screen, on your screen?
No.
Okay, that's good because suddenly I'm being barraged by text. I don't know.
No, I have my surveillance cameras pop up all the time. They never show up.
They never show up. By the way, that was 1967. 1967. The only album I have on my list. I have 9 albums here, just so I had enough just in case. And that's by far the earliest one. The rest from the 70s and the Jennifer Warnes one from the 80s.
Yeah.
You ready for another one?
Absolutely.
Is this your number one?
My favorites, but this now you want to talk about playing the grooves off of something. Now here's the original cover here. I used to, I still have the album, but it's just almost unplayable. It's so scratched up by Purple Rain soundtrack by Prince.
That's
and not too long. I have my old vinyl, which is unplayable, which is why I bought this. But I saw this not too long ago, and I had to get it as well.
Oh, that looks great.
Yeah, the picture disc.
That is awesome.
I love picture discs. I just have a soft spot for picture discs. And I don't think I have to explain why this album is great. It's just freaking great. It's like a greatest hits album because everything on it's incredible. You know, Let's Go Crazy, Take Me With You, The Beautiful Ones, Computer Blue, Darling Nikki, When Doves Cry, I Would Die For You, Baby I'm a Star, and of course, Purple Rain, which he sang in the rain.
In the rain.
He played Super Bowl.
Yeah.
One of the all-time
lightning storm, and Prince just went out there anyway. Played it.
Probably the greatest Super Bowl performance ever.
Yeah. It's not one of, it's the greatest.
It is. Well, it's my favorite. I thought
there's nothing else that compares. Yeah. They'd all like to think that they compare, but they don't.
No, nobody will ever beat that. Purple Rain and Rain can't beat that.
No, you can't. I mean, and you're singing Purple Rain, and you're playing the guitar like Prince can.
I know, it's almost like divine intervention or something.
That's exactly
that just had to happen.
It's you couldn't write it any better, and that's how Prince's life was. Living in Prince world the whole time. Just things happen there that don't happen anywhere else.
That's right.
So are you going to leave it at 5? I think that's probably okay this time.
No, you don't have to go forever. I got one more for 5.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Oh, I was thinking that was 5. All right,
no, that's 4.
What?
That was number 2.
Okay, this is my last one. I'm going to do. Just because.
Yeah,
Bad Company.
That's a great one.
Sung the album's Bad Company, the band's Bad Company. Best song on it is Bad Company.
No,
right
that
there.
Never happens.
Although Can't Get Enough, Rock Steady, Ready for. I mean, golly, everything on it. Just great song. But side 1 is certainly classic, and it is in better shape. Side 2 is in better shape than side 1 because I played side 1. I would just play side 1 through, pick it up, play it again. Of course, people. I was poor, so I had to move my own needle. Pick my own needle up, put it back, and let it go again, and just play it all night sometimes.
Yeah.
And you know what I like about it too is nothing fancy. It's kind of the opposite of your album with the picture album.
Yeah.
It's just got Bad Company written on it. It doesn't even write company all the way out.
Yeah. Just
Bad
Co.
Bad Co. You know, if I had been a disc jockey in the days when that was out, which I eventually became a disc jockey, but a small time disc jockey, but disc jockey nonetheless, I would have called it Bad Co. Got another cut from Bad Co. coming your way right now.
It's the Pocket Fisherman by Bad Co.
Bad Co. That's it. It's Bad Co. Bad Co. Bad Co. All right.
I got my number 1 now.
Finish this up.
This is the only album I've ever had in every single format in which it's ever been released. I've had it on 8-track, on cassette, CD, and vinyl. And it's been my favorite for a long, long time. Boz Scaggs, Silk Degrees.
degrees.
And this to me is like his greatest hits. I mean, you put this, I can just put this album on and just listen to it, and I do every so often. And I play it. And when I play it all the way through. Both sides.
You got to.
Yep. What can I say, Georgia? Jump Street. What do you want the girl to do? Harbor Lights. Yeah, you gotta love Harbor Lights.
Harbor Lights.
Low Down. It's Over. Love Me Tomorrow. Lido Shuffle. And it's one that was covered by Rita Coolidge. We're All Alone.
We're All Alone. What a great song.
Yeah.
And what a great album. And I know that's a lot of people's favorite album. And, that's the kind of album you play it. Let's say you play it once a week.
Yeah.
And at the end of each one of those plays, you have a new favorite song from the album. You've dropped some song out of number 1. It's just lost its number 2 ranking. And something else has moved from 7 to 1.
That's the cool thing about a favorite album. You do get to like in different songs.
Yeah, yeah. At different times. Times. That was, I don't know the year for that, Ron. I was going to say my Bad Company
1976. That was a great year for music, man.
The Bad Company album was 74. So early to mid 70s. It's unbelievable how good the music was. And I've got a theory. I mean, and the music, the musicianship definitely is not where it was back in the mid 70s. Yeah. But you know what people who used to become musicians do now is they play video games.
Yeah.
And back then, if you were like some kind of nerdy dude, which most rock stars were sort of nerdy people when they were younger, they didn't have a lot of friends or they weren't very popular, and they'd go home and play the guitar all afternoon or play the piano all afternoon. And man, that makes for some great musicianship, and you just don't have that anymore. Now the same people go home and play video games, and actually probably more reward for it because you get online and you make a few online friends at least, and so that's why they do it, and I can't blame them. But boy, a lot of great musicians are not being developed because of video games.
Very true.
That's all there is to it. That's not even I don't think that's even a theory. I think that's just so obviously true that if somebody points it out, you go, yeah, that's what's going on. And that's what's happening. All right, Ron, anything else for we're going to have to do another show.
I have a few honorable mentions. I was just kind of fighting against myself. They kept going into the top 5 and falling out.
Right.
I kept switching around, and I had to think about, how much the albums meant to me. And some of them were just below the surface. Yeah, I'll zip through some of those real quick because they're kind of fun.
Well, you want to do a part 2, and just keep.
We can do a part 2, but I can just kind of
just mention them briefly.
Sure, just a quickie. We can talk a little more in depth and about some. But I'll show you the ones that almost made the top 5.
Right.
All right. I was gonna pick, only one soundtrack. I decided on Purple Rain, but for more traditional soundtrack, I did for a moment have this one.
Rocky. I thought about Rocky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another one of my favorite bands. This one almost made it in, because this is my favorite album of theirs, Earth, Wind and Fire. I Am.
True.
I always love their artwork on there. By the way.
Yeah, always. Really good. Kind of remind, kind of a group version of Stevie Wonder is what I think of, man.
And, of course, another one of my favorite artists. I felt bad I didn't have him in there, but this is my favorite album of his. Havana Daydreaming, Jimmy Buffett.
Jimmy Buffett. Great one.
Old Jimmy. And let's see. I have several more, but I'll just show 2 more. Let's see. All right. Yeah, I got to show them because this guy's one of my favorite musicians. I went to see him about a year or so ago just because he's one of my favorite guitarists of all time because he's just amazing. Brian Setzer, and this is one of my favorite albums too. The Stray Cats.
Oh.
Love that album.
Good choices all, Ron.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I'll kind of leave it at that. I've got several more I had in here, but those were the ones that I kind of hated that I had to drop out.
No, let's do a part 2. Next
we'll do part 2 and do some more.
That's exactly what our plans are, Ron. Part 2, favorite albums, and why, and or just draw your attention back to them if you're watching and you think, yeah, I hadn't played that
We
in a
could do
while.
several more on the albums because we could do one whole and just on greatest hits.
Yeah, and maybe another one, greatest hits. Maybe we'll just do some albums for a while.
Just like as a preview on that. See, this would be one of my picks.
Oh yeah, Jim Croce.
Yeah,
Photographs and Memories.
Yep.
Yeah, what a great one. Hey, Ron, season 2, episode 2's in the books. Get your face on the screen here. There we go. Let's go. Let's be professional. And we will be back with more album talk.
Yes.
Next week on Boomer Bongo Boulevard. I'm Mike, just Mike. That's Ron, just Ron.